Alright guys, welcome to the DigitalThemePark channel. We're doing a mission here today with unguided bombing, thanks to Zoo for letting us use the channel. So with that, let's go ahead and get started. We're going to be looking at the IFC menu, so you're going to set your IFC to test, and you should be looking at the main menu, version 3.00. The first thing we're going to look at is the CCIP consent option, which your arrow should be pointing to right now if you just switched it to test, and it should say off. This means we're set to manual release, which is the default mode that you're going to be in when you start the aircraft, and if you just started out takeoff and go to drop a bomb, as soon as you switch to CCIP mode, this is what you're in, manual release. And manual release is basically put the thing on the thing and press the button, right? You're going to have a dot in the middle of a circle as you dive in on the target, and you're going to put the dot on the target and then hold down your weapons release button or your pickle button for 1 second, and it'll release the munition. So pretty simple for the manual release. Now with 3.9, the solution queue will fall along the azimuth steering line. The pipper must align with the ASL to a certain degree. And pickle button must be depressed as the solution queue falls through the pipper to achieve a successful drop. So what it's talking about is you're going to have that big circle and dot at the bottom, which is part of the P-bill. It'll be at the very bottom. And as you hold down your weapons release button, just like in CCRP, you're going to see another little reticle. It looks just like the big fat reticle, which is the circle with the dot, but it's smaller, and it's falling along your ASL. And it's got a number next to it. That number is a countdown in seconds until release of the weapon. And what you've got is your azimuth steering line, which is going to rotate left or right depending on your wing position, and it'll slew left to right depending on your position according to your intended target. So you want to line that up center with a vertical line up and down in your HUD, and as that ticker hits 5 seconds, that little reticle is going to start falling down, just like the New York when during the New Year's Day thing, you know, they drop the ball. It's going to fall along that line. Same thing. That ball is going to drop after 5 seconds, and it's going to count down from 5 to 0. At 0, the little reticle is going to fall inside the big reticle, and you want the two dots to meet at the bottom. And that's how you get a successful drop. And that's for 3.9 and 5 mil as well. So the difference between 5 mil and 3.9 is really just how accurately you have to have the pipper pass through the solution queue. And I know this all sounds kind of confusing, but later on when we actually start practicing with it and you see the reticles, it'll make a lot more sense. So for now, we're going to go ahead and leave it to off. Your CCIP consent option should be off, and we're going to switch our IFC back to on. Now, are there any questions so far? Because that was just a general overview of the two different types of CR and then the manual release. Alright, so we're going to go on to the DCS unguided bomb pages. So to do that, let's go ahead and take a look at our left MFCD. And we're going to select OSB 14, or you could use your coolie hat and move over. And then you should be looking at your stat page, which shows all of your weapon stations. If you guys were here for the unguided gun and rocket tutorial, you'll remember that it tells you in the box on the top line what weapon it is, below that where it's attached on the station, and the numbers on the inside there are going to be 3, 3, and 1 on the left and right. Those are how many bombs of that type you have on that station, and then of course the numbers on the outside from 1 to 5 on the left and from 7 to 11 on the right. Those are your station numbers. So you should be showing on 5 and 7 3 BDU 33s on a TER, 4 and 8 same thing, and then 3 and 9 you should have a BDU 50, and it should say pilot option, which means we can adjust the BDU-50 for either high drag or low drag configuration, and we'll talk about that a little bit later. Now, real quick, let's just go over some types of bombs and what they're for. We've got the Mark 82 and Mark 84, which are just general purpose unguided bombs. The Mark 82 has the HD or air, and the DSMIS, it's called the Mark 82 APO. And basically, with the high drag, you have a balloon or a parachute that comes out of the bomb on the back to slow it down, thus the high drag. And then low drag, of course, is it's just a slick bomb and it falls straight down. Then you've got the CBU 87 and CBU 97. Oh, I should mention, the Mark 82 is the 500-pound variant, and the Mark 84 is the 1,000-pound variant of the Marks. So 84 is bigger by about 500 pounds, and I don't believe that in the game they have the high drag version of the Mark 84. So from there we'll go on to the CBU 87 and 97, which are the unguided cluster bombs. And then of course the 103 and 105 are guided. So we won't be messing with cluster bombs in this one. We'll probably cover that in CCRP. And then you've got the BDU-33, which is what we have loaded today. And like I said, they're used to simulate a Mark 82 in low drag configuration. The official statement in the flight manual for DCS is spotting component inside releases smoke for visual spotting of impact point. So just to make it a further point here, if you have a blue munition on your aircraft, it's a training weapon. Some of the in the AIM-120s that you'll see on aircraft, they have a ring towards the middle or back of the body. That means there's no rocket motor, but the guidance is present. If there's a yellow one, it's a real missile. It will fire, the rocket will fire off, and the missile will go on its way. Okay, BDU-50, we also have these loaded today. They're inert Mark 82s. It's the actual bomb with no explosives in it, just a smoke bomb. It can be configured for both low and high drag use. So we're going to look at the high drag today using CR mode to do so. So we're going to look at the actual DSMIS pages now, the profile page. So you're going to want to hit OSB1, which is, right now it should say Prof. Just go ahead and push that. Now you're looking at your profiles page, and each weapon group will have its own profile. So we haven't selected any weapons right now, which means that these profiles are not active and the specific munitions are not active. So this will change the profile for every weapon on the aircraft. So we're going to go ahead and scroll down, and we'll start with our BDU-33, or yeah, BDU-33s, which should be the second selection down. But don't select anything, just put the arrow to the left on that. We're going to go ahead and select View Pro, OSB3, and that should bring you to the BDU-33 profile control. Everybody there?
Copy.
Alright, so OSB6 should say SGL, OSB7 N/T, OSB9 says CCIP or mode CCIP, OSB11 says CHG set, and then you've got new on OSB18. So everybody seeing that?
Copy.
Copy.
Alright. Now on this page, what we're looking at is the general profile itself, the different modes that we can set without changing any of the characteristics of the bomb. So what we're going to start with is OSB6, which is SGL. This is your release type. It's going to decide how many bombs and how to release them. So right now, SGL is single, which means that each press of the weapon release button will release a single bomb. That's all that means. If you press OSB6, it'll change it to PRS. So go ahead and do that. And you'll notice on OSB3 you now have a save option, which means it would save it as delivering pairs, which is PRS. And all pairs means is that each press of the weapon release button will release one bomb from opposed wing stations. So if you have, like we have, station, I believe 6 or 5 and 7, loaded with BU-33s. So the aircraft would decide, okay, we're set to pairs. I'm going to release one bomb from 5 and 7 simultaneously in the pairs setting. That's all that means. So let's go ahead and press that OSB6 again, and it'll change it to RIP SGL. Alright, this is where it gets a little tricky. Now, with ripple singles, a set number of bombs is released every set number of seconds until the ripple number is met. So what does that mean? A set number of bombs, meaning right now with ripple single we have singles, right? Each ripple would be like a volley. You're releasing one volley. Well, since it's ripple single, we're obviously one volley is one bomb, right? So then ripple quantity, which you see on OSB 8, decides how many of those volleys you're going to release. So ripple single with ripple quantity 1, we're going to release one bomb. Ripple single with ripple quantity 4, we're going to drop 4 bombs. And of course, there's some things that decide when they're released and how far apart they're going to be spread when they hit the ground. So basically, the purpose of the single ripple is to carpet a corridor that may have a convoy of tanks or other vehicles, or you could be hitting a bridge, some other structure like an underground tunnel. You know, then you would adjust the fusing for a bunker buster, which unfortunately I don't believe is implemented in this game, and I don't believe we really have any bunkers where units are inside of. So the ripple effect allows for bombs to be dropped within each other's blast radius to ensure maximum lethal coverage, which means that if you have a bomb that will do damage up to 400 feet, they're going to drop 2 bombs within 350 feet of each other to cover as much area as they can with a lethal impact. And that's where the ripple comes along when taking out a convoy. So now if you go ahead and push OSB 6 again, we'll be at ripple pairs. And you'll notice the only thing that changed was it went from SGL to PRS. Now ripple pairs just means we're dropping 2 bombs in volleys instead of 1 bomb. So now the volley is 2, and the ripple quantity is going to decide how many volleys we drop in a sequence. And of course, if you set your ripple quantity to 3, you only have to press the weapons release button once, and it will release 3 bombs along the trajectory. And then you just continue to fly the aircraft at the target, and it will automatically release those 3 bombs and spread them out by using the timing release to do that.
Question.
Go ahead.
Ripple pairs, is it 3 bombs or 6 bombs if you set the ripple to 3?
Ripple pairs will always release 2 bombs at once.
So if the ripple quantity is 3, you're going to release 6 bombs in total, is that it?
That's correct.
Okay, but I think you said 3, and that confused me.
Okay, so let me try to explain a little bit more clearly. If you can imagine, say, archers standing in a line. With ripple single, one archer is going to fire 1 arrow, right? But you tell him you want 3 volleys, meaning you want 3 on your ripple quantity. Does that make sense? He's going to fire 3 single arrows to meet that ripple quantity. So he's releasing 3 volleys of arrows, but it's just him, so it's only 3 arrows. Are you with me so far?
Yep.
Okay, so when we set to ripple pairs, now you're setting up 2 archers to fire volleys. So you're releasing 2 arrows 3 times. So both of them are going to fire 3 times, but instead of only having 1 bomb coming, or 1 arrow coming out, you're going to have 3 or 2 arrows each volley. Does that make sense?
Yep.
Before I know I'm falling down, I wanna wake you up at the end of the night. Before I know I'm falling down, I wanna wake you up at the end of the night.
Anybody else unclear with that? I know it's kind of hard to understand. It confused me too.
I don't think we have that in any other game, that number of choices.
Yeah, they get pretty accurate with this stuff, man, I'll tell you. Alright, so now, well, one thing you need to realize about the ripples when you drop them, whether ripple single or ripple pair, they're going to land around the pipper aim point, especially with the pairs. You set the pipper directly on the target, these bombs are going to explode all around the target because they're designed to carpet an area. If you're looking for a precision strike, you want CCIP or even better CCRP. Ripples are for attacking area targets. You're not attacking a single target. You're dropping in an area. If you're taking out a bridge, you're going to hit it at 90 degrees, and eventually, the explosions will hit that bridge and take it out. If you have a JDAM, you're going to do CCRP with your dot right on the bridge. But if you're using a ripple, you're only going after area targets, spread out targets. Everybody with me there?
Copy.
All right. The next selection down is going to be your fuse selection, which is right now should be at N/T, right?
Copy.
Should be right below ripple pairs. Now, what that's telling you is it's set to nose tail. These are specific to the bombs, depending on how you want to drop them. With some bombs, setting them nose tail does absolutely nothing. With other bombs, nose tail will change the characteristics. Is it going to be a slick bomb? Is it going to be a low drag? You can actually decide whether or not the balut deploys. So also, if it's a high drag only and you have it set to nose, you might not be able to drop it. But as far as the BDU 50 that we have loaded, it shouldn't be a big deal. So what we're going to do is, I'll just go ahead and mention this here, with the BDU 50, if it's set to nose tail or tail, it is set for a high drag release, which means the balut will deploy. If you set the BDU 50 to nose, it will release as a slick bomb and fall without releasing its balut. So just remember that. Nose, it will fall slick. Anything else, it will fall with the balut deployed. And then of course, just below your ripple quantity, you have that FT and then it says 75. That's your default dispersion. That means that when you release your ripple, if your ripple is 3 and you're dropping 3 or 6 bombs, depending on if you're single or pairs, they will fall 75 feet apart from each other. Each volley will fall 75 feet apart. So you can adjust that. You can type in on your UFC, if you want 150 feet separation, you're going to type 150 on your UFC and then press OSB 8 in this menu and the FP will change to 150. So we're just going to go ahead and leave that alone to 75. And then of course mode is your delivery mode. All this decides is when you have your HUD as soy and then you start pressing left or right on your DMS, it will change which weapons are available in the category. So if you hit your master mode and set to CCIP, it will show you all the profiles of the weapons loaded currently on the aircraft and only the profiles that are loaded for CCIP. And of course, if you switch your master mode to CCRP, it'll show you those weapons as well. Does everybody understand that? Good to go?
Good to go.
Copy.
All right. Next step.
You can't change that without going back to this page?
You can select the master mode as CCIP and then select the weapon that you want to drop CCIP by selecting it through the DSMS page on your left MFCD. So you would hit the corresponding OSB to the weapons station. So if you want, say, weapon station 6, you would hit OSB 3 and that would select weapon station 6. And if you're in master mode CCRP, you'll be fine. Because that weapon is selected, you're in CCRP mode, you can deliver it CCRP, even if the profile calls for CCIP. So basically all your mode does, by changing it in the DSMS pages, is categorize which master mode you're going to cycle through to find it. And that's just for ease of access. If you have to pull a weapon up quickly to drop a bomb on a target of opportunity, you're flying by and you notice that there is a AAA or a SAM getting ready to set up and you have a bomb left. you can quickly switch your CCIP, roll over, and persecute that target and get out. That's pretty much what it's for, but you can manually select which weapons you want to use just by your DSMIS page on the left MFCD, and also by switching your modes through the master mode, you can select which mode you want. Does that make sense?
Copy.
Alright, so the next thing we're going to do is switch to the CHG set on OSB 16. Just go ahead and click that. And now you're looking at the BDU33 profile settings, but this is specifically for the weapon and the stations themselves. This is really in depth as far as the characteristics of the bomb and how it's going to fall. So first, let's talk about the escape maneuvers, which if you take a look at your OSB 20, right now it says SEM CLM. That is your escape maneuver. And right now it's set to CLM, or climbing maneuver. And basically a climbing maneuver is a maximum G pull straight up away from the target after releasing. So you're in on a target, you're doing your run in, you release your weapon, give it a split second for that follow through to make sure all your weapons are released while the pipper is on the target, and then you're going to immediately apply the maximum G's available to your aircraft and climb out. And when I say maximum G's available, I mean you have to know what kind of weapon stations you have and how much weight there is on the aircraft so that you don't exceed your G tolerance for the current weight of the aircraft. Now, the next one, if you click it, is TRN. Now, TRN is basically turn, and a turning maneuver is basically the same thing as a climb. The only difference is you're going to add some roll to it. So you do a 30 or 60 degree climb. You know, you're doing your max climb, but you're going to roll 30 to 60 degrees left or right while you're doing it. And you're going to climb away and turn at the same time until you're about 90 degrees out from the target, and then level off at whatever altitude you need. If you go ahead and click the next mode, you'll see it's TLT, or turn level turn. And this one's about the same as the turn. The only thing that's different is that as you climb away and turn, you're looking for a specific altitude, and you're going to roll away at that altitude. So you're going to line your TVV with the horizontal line as you turn away. So instead of just turning and climbing away, you're going to level off at a certain point and continue to turn away. And the point of all this is that your GCAS is trying to determine the minimum safe distance to release your bomb without shacking yourself. Meaning the bomb explodes and you want to be outside of the blast radius. So giving it your escape maneuver can give you a little bit more time to drop that bomb, because the GCAS knows what these three maneuvers are, and it can predict where you will be when that bomb explodes. And it can decide just how close you can get to release your weapon. And you'll know you're too close if you get a big X across the pipper. If you remember, I was talking about the reticle, the big circle with the dot in the middle. If you get an X going all the way through that reticle, that means your GCAS is telling you you are too close to this target to release the bomb. You will be in the blast radius, you will take damage. So that's why your escape maneuver is important.
And this is really programmed in this game, those escape maneuvers.
As far as I've tested it, I believe so, because I find with GCAS set to none, I could be at 5,000 feet and the aircraft is telling me I'm too close. Change it to climb or turn level turn, and I can get down to about 2,000-3,000 feet. So it seems to work. At least it seems to be functional in the game.
That's very impressive.
Now, if we take a look at the BDU33 profile settings, on the left side, just below escape maneuvers, you've got DES TOF, which is desired time of fall, MIN ALT, which is your minimum altitude that you can set, and then MIN TOF, which is your minimum time of flight, or time of fall, excuse me. So what we're talking about with time of fall is the amount of time in seconds from bomb release to impact. So from this very second it releases from your rack on your aircraft to exact second that it hits the ground, that's going to be your time of fall. And it will determine the desired release cue located on the projected bomb impact line, your P-bill, which is that first line you see. It's usually dotted and it's got the reticle and the dot in the center, the pipper. The DRC, or the desired release cue, looks like a little triangle, and it rotates around the outside of the reticle. And basically what you want to do is you're going to have this tape that unwinds inside the reticle itself. And once that tape hits that DRC, that's when you want to release the weapon. So when the bombing pipper and the DRC coincide and the bomb is released, the desired time of flight will be achieved. So basically, if your tape meets that triangle when you release the bomb, you will have that amount of time. So if you set your designated time of flight as 6 seconds, and you release when that tape hits the triangle, you will have 6 seconds before that bomb hits the target. So that's good for precision drops. If you need to hit the target at the exact moment, you can use it with the desired time of flight. Also, you can set your minimum altitude, which is MIN alt, which basically is the minimum weapon release altitude. You can override the GCAS above but not below. So if the GCAS says 500 feet too low and you set your minimum altitude to 300, GCAS is still going to tell you you're wrong. But if you set it above 300 feet, say you don't want to go below, say, 4,000 feet because there's AA or something shooting at you, and below 4,000 they're accurate, you would set your minimum altitude to, say, 5,000. And it would let you know, hey, you've hit your minimum altitude that you set, you need to climb back up and try for another bomb run. And then of course your minimum time of fall is the same thing as desired time of fall. So you can set both. You'll have a triangle that shows when you need to release, and then you can have another triangle that says at this point you are too close, get out. So if you don't have a GCAS set up correctly and you're not sure, but you know that within 2 seconds of drop you're gonna either hit the ground or the bomb's gonna blow up and take you out, you can set your minimum time of flight, and that'll give you a second triangle on your reticle, and you know not to drop your bomb past that second triangle. Okay, so what we're gonna do now is switch over to the BDU 50. Don't hit the save button or anything, just hit the stat button, OSB1, and we're gonna go over and look at the BDU 50 profile. So once you're back to stat, just click the profile button again, OSB1, and then scroll it down to BDU 50, and then click View Pro, and then we're going to click CHG Set again, OSB 16. And you'll notice this one has a lot more options on it. Everybody there?
Copy.
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 Alright, so we have our set escape maneuver again. We have our designated time of flight, minimum altitude, and then we've got two more TOFs right below, HD and LD TOF. That's your high drag and your low drag TOF, or time of fall. Excuse me, I keep saying flight. It's time of fall. And basically these are going to decide the time of fall for your high drag or low drag configuration on the BDU 50. But you can just set your desired time of flight and that would work just fine. If you set your fusing to nose, tail, or tail, it will have the desired time of flight. I'm not sure if it's implemented in the game, but with the aircraft you could set high drag to 6 seconds, low drag to 3 seconds, and that could equate to the same thing. So if you drop a low drag bomb with 3 seconds time of flight, it could take, it could be basically you drop a slick bomb and a balut bomb at the same time, or if you want to drop them at the same altitude, it could be that the low drag needs half the time than the high drag. So you would say, I want to drop at 5,000 feet. So you set your low drag to 3 seconds and you set your high drag to 6 seconds. That way you can release both from 5,000 feet if needed. So that's what low drag and high drag is. Any questions about that? I know that was kind of confusing there.
No, sir.
Alright, so on the right side, you've got right, up, eject, and rack. These are all airframe specific. They are they're basically calibrations used to correct for any differences in the airframe. Just like with a rifle, each one's going to zero just a little bit differently. That's what these four are designed for. They're specifically for maintenance to be able to zero the aircraft just like a rifle. So you'll probably never mess with those. For the most part, they're there for maintenance to adjust after the aircraft has been checked over and it's been decided that certain numbers need to be put in there. We're not going to mess with those. Okay, so now we're moving into actual CCIP bombing use, and we're going to start with manual release. Again, put the thing on the thing and push the button for 1 second. Don't tap it because you could have a hung munition. You got to hold it down. So the way we're going to do this, and we'll talk about this again once we're in the air, but for now we're just going to go over it. I know it's kind of boring, but manual release is the default release mode. You're going to start in a dive between 10 and 45 degrees nose down towards the intended target. Wings level up the dashed P-bill, which will turn solid as you dive. As you get close enough to be in range for your targeting system, your CCIP, to pick up where the bomb's going to hit, the line will turn solid and you can place your pipper over the intended target. Again, you're going to hold down the weapon release button until your munition is released. And then above and to the left of the man release indication on your HUD, which would be, if you take a look at where it says CM1150, which is your combat mix and the amount of bullets you have left, and then you got the asterisk to show your HUD is soy, that's just below your airspeed, there will be a number that appears there. Whatever that number is the maximum amount of time it's going to take for your bomb to hit, and it will start counting down. And basically what it is a countdown timer until your bomb hits the ground. So it tells you how much time you've got before your bomb connects with the target. Again, when you are diving at the target, once you have it lined up and you release, give it just a little bit of time. You'll hear the ka-thunk. Give it just a little bit of time after that, and then begin your escape maneuver. The point of that is just like with a rifle, you're going to have that follow through with the weapon. You're going to pull the trigger and remain stable where you were before you pulled the trigger. The point of that is to make sure that you don't jerk the nose before the bomb is completely released, because you're going to throw off your aim. Now, with the CCIP reticle, you'll notice that you will see the P-bill actually dragging across the ground. It's not on the target and staying there. So applying a little bit of negative G, you can do that, but you have to be careful, because I myself have made this mistake. Slade laughed at me quite a few times over it. Pushing nose down a little too much and then releasing, your bomb, depending on your angle of attack, will actually jump up and hit the aircraft, and it will take you out instead of the target. So a little bit of nose down pressure to try to keep that P-bill on for a little bit longer so you can get a more accurate drop. That's okay. Just be aware of your angle of attack and make sure not to put too much, or you're going to end up putting that bomb into your own hull and probably killing yourself. So that's pretty much it for CCIP manual release. Anybody got questions about that?
Negative. No, sir.